The different types of leathers, we have, of course, you have your upholstery leathers, which is what you use on couches. We have some chrome tan leathers. We have some stoned oil cowhides, which have been finished with a different type of finish. And then what we have is, this is called our vegetable tan leather, which is undyed, unfinished, and this is what you use for tooling. So this is what I'm going to be working with today. And see here, I have a list so I don't forget anything. What I'll do is I'll start to explain the tools. Now you can do so many different things with leather. You can make belts, horse tags. We have lots of people that come in, they make armor. The Renaissance Festival that's now going on up by near Kansas City, they come in and get a lot of their leather from us. The Boy Scouts, they come in, buy their deer skins through us. And there's just so many different things you can do with it. But this is a piece of vegetable tan, again, undyed, unfinished. And it's what you can do for stamping and carving. All the other types of leathers you can't because of the type of finish they have on them. We have a lot of people come in and ask, well, I have a pair of shoes that, I'd like to change up, paint and stuff. We don't really recommend it. Of course, you could try and dye it, try and work with it, but it's not going to turn out as good as vegetable tan. So I'll explain the different types of tools here, what you're needing for just basic tooling and stamping and carving. First you need is water. And what you do is, before you start to carve your leather, you want to, what we call casing the leather, which is getting it wet. You want to make sure you have a good stream, and that this is not going to spray very well, but you want to make sure that it gets even on there, because if you don't, then it's going to kind of spot it up. But you want to make sure it's even, and right now this is too wet to mess with. So what you kind of want to do is just let it all soak in until it kind of starts to return to its natural color, and then you can start carving, stamping, tooling it. If you get to carving and it's been a while and you're like, well, I'm not getting as good of an impression I want to, hold it up to your face, and if it's still cool, you're good to go, but if it's a little bit warmer, then you can add some more water to it. I'll explain the different types of mallets here we have. This is just a basic plastic one. This is our cheapest one. It's lightweight. We mostly give it to kids. Actually, we do have a wood one that's really, really lightweight. We usually give these to the kids to use. And then we have these poly mauls, which are weighted. This is a 1-pounder because I don't have a lot of strength in my arms. You get tired after a while. We also have a 2 and a 3 pound. So these are recommended for what I'll explain later is called beveling. It gives a good impression because you got the weight behind it. And we do offer these in our store. This is what's called a swivel knife. This is what you use to cut out what you're wanting to put into the leather. Like if you have a deer head or a horse or whatever you want to put in. And this is what you use. We have a couple different variations of these. This one is kind of our higher end one. It has a nice padding to it. It's real comfortable. We have a straight metal one, but your fingers can get tired after a while, as with this one. But what's nice about this one is you can adjust the height. So if you have a larger hand, you can adjust it. And then if you have a smaller hand like me, you can adjust it down. So your hand doesn't get tired. And then we have these different types of blades. I personally prefer a straight blade, but we also have what's called a figure ground, which is a straight blade with the ends are a little bit, they come off, and it helps a lot with figure carving. We also have a slanted blade, which is really good for fine detailing. And then we also have some ceramic blades as well. And what the thing you want to do is when you get your swivel knife, they do come pre-sharpened, but just to make sure you've got a good sharp blade and you're getting a good cut, is you want to use what this is called jeweler's rouge. And what you'll do is you'll take it on the leather, get a little bit on there, and then you'll take it, what we call stropping the blade. You'll take it and run it, make sure it's at the correct angle so you don't roll it over and make it round. And what you'll do is you'll get a good, nice, sharp blade on here. Because if you're going and cutting, you're starting to drag and get some resistance. You want to go ahead and strop it again so you get a good, clean cut. And then these are our stamps that we have. We have, oh gosh, we probably have over have our regular craft tool stamps, which are just our like our regular ones, and we also have our Pro Tool lines, which are a little bit more higher up, a different type of metal. But we have what are called bevelers, and I'll explain those in a minute. We have your regular basket weave stamp, which you see a lot on saddles and stuff like that. And then we have, just sorts of different figures. We have flowers. And then we have like border tools, which you can do around the edges. But what I'll do is I'll go ahead and explain the different types. What I'll do is I'll do them on here and I'll try and hold them up. And if you want to afterwards, you can come up and see them, how they look closer. This is just a barbed wire stamp. And what you want to do is the leathers, it's maybe a little bit more wet than I'd like, but stamping, it can be a little bit more wet when you're beveling. You don't want it as wet like this. But go ahead, and what you'll do is you'll place the stamp on it. Be sure and hold it firm, because if you don't, it can slide around. And what you'll do is you'll take your mallet and you go, and I don't know if you can see that. Got a barbed wire stamp right there. And then get my border stamp here. I'll go ahead and take this. And you can do that along a border if you want. And as you can see here, I wasn't holding it down as firm as I should have. You can't really see it, but it's kind of moved and is a little bit like a shadowy kind of effect. Doesn't give a good impression. So you want to be sure you're pushing down hard. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and explain the bevelers. Let me go ahead and just cut a little line here with my swivel knife. And I guess I should explain how to hold the swivel knife. What you want to do is you want to use your thumb and your third finger here. You want to rest your second finger here. And you don't want it to be like stretched out like this, so you can't have a good grip on it. So right there is probably about good for my hand. Like I said, I have a smaller hand. So what you want to do is you want to place it like this. So when you're going around curves, you control it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a straight line. And this swivel knife's cutting pretty good. There's a little bit of resistance, so I could probably strop it a little bit more. But there we go. Just did a couple lines there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my bevelers. We do have two different types of bevelers. Actually, we technically have three. We have what's called we have a checkered beveler, and then we also have a smooth beveler, and then we have one, I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's not exactly checkered, it's just kind of some lines through it. Now these are used for what's called beveling, which is if you're like doing a figure or something on there. We use the bevelers to give definition to that design of what you're doing on there. You can either do the beveling on the outside to make the image stand up, or you can do it on the inside to kind of give it make it, I don't know what I want to say, like sink in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this is called the toe of the beveler, and what I'm going to want to do is place this toe in the line, and I'm going to place it in the line. I like to sit down when I'm doing this so I can get a good angle, but what you want to do is what we call walking it. Is you want to kind of walk it back and forth so you get a nice smooth covering there. And what it does is it gives what we call the burnishing. This darker here is it gives it kind of a nice burnished look. And what it is if I do it on the other side here, it's going to make this middle line raise up. So like if you wanted to paint it, or even just leave it, put some resist on it and just leave it natural, it'll stand out. But then if I wanted to make the outside stand up and the inside line kind of caved in, I would go on the inside here and I would go here, and what it's going to do is it's going to push this line in and make the outside raise up. And what you want to be careful with is bevelers, and it's something I'm still working on. Sorry, again, I've only been doing this for a year, but you want to work on walking it, because if you do, you can go ahead and do this and kind of get away with it, but you're always going to kind of show and impress, and you can do 1, 2, 3, just hit it like this, but then you want to kind of go back through and kind of just walk it over, which I'm not giving much pressure on it. I'm just kind of letting the beveler just pass along it. That way, if you just strike it in a row, you have some little lines there, and so it doesn't look as nice as a finished product. And that was a checkered beveler. Again, you can use a smooth one, just personal preference. I like the checkered bevelers. I like the look, but I mean, you can use the smooth. Again, it gives the same look, just not as much of, maybe it's not as much of a burnish, and I guess that's why I like the checkered. Let's see, what time do we have? Okay, my next thing, what I'm going to do, I didn't bring my paper, but I'm going to kind of show you, if I can get this to work. There we go. You can just do free stamping, like stamp wherever you want, or if you want to do the basket weave,